Alright, this is stage 2 of the process to make the parallel bus bars, well, bus connectors. So this is the welding rod. It's 2.4mm. Here, I don't know if you can see that, here is the male connectors from the bullet connectors. They're stuck in a jig that I made out of a chunk of wood, and I lined up the plastic housing to get the spacings correct, because this way I can build them all up, as you'll see, and then they'll just slot straight into a load of the connectors that are strapped together with a zip tie. Here is my welding station. It's a Weller PU81. It's a very nice iron. And here is a welding tip with a nice big thermal mass, because the amount of solder we're using is quite a lot. So let's crack on. Oh, I'm just using one of those sort of gorilla pods to hold the camera. Not a real gorilla pod, but a cheap one from Tesco. Does the same job. Okay, and I only built 2 holes for the jig, because I figured once you've done 2 connectors, you can pick it up when it's solidified, and then just do the next 2 using the first one as a guide. So I'll sort of demonstrate that. Just get my solder. It takes a lot of solder to sort of fill these, and probably even these ones look bigger than the ones I've done before, so I imagine I could do with a fan. Now we'll just hold our breath for a while and get above it. So I'll kneel down, maybe get my head in the shot. So yeah, I would say the ones that I had previously I'd bought from Hobby King, and these Futian bullets, the socket is a bigger gauge, so it's kind of like the ones that you get when you if you ever take them off of actual LiPo packs, and they've got a nice connector to put new wire onto. But unfortunately for this, I'm not sure they're as good. Because in the end you're just going to use more solder getting them filled. So they sort of fill up to a certain level, and you apply some heat, and then I think air escapes, and then the level goes down, but you just need really enough to keep them in place. So obviously that looks like it's taking quite a long time, but it's not. You'll find it soon goes. But what you don't want to do then is touch this copper directly, because it's just had the heat on that is conducted through the solder. So you want to get a tool that means you don't have to touch it to lift it. It's not so bad right at the end, but obviously the longer you've had the heat on, the worse that'll be. So then from this end, you've got 2 soldered there like that. You can slide your pre-drilled connector along it, and it will kind of flop around like that. And you want to seat the one that's already soldered into the edge there, and just push them down. You see, that's a demonstration of it being quite hot. Maybe it'd be sensible to leave that in there to help spacer the next one. So when you're doing this, one of the problems I faced when I did the first one, the first run, first connector, is you want your things to all run straight, as in when you lie these flat, you want them all to be in one straight line, because otherwise they won't be sat right in the connector. Now, it might be easiest, and I'll test this in a bit, to do that whilst they're all in a vise and sort of clamp them and reset them. But to get the spacing right, this is probably an easier way. Question is, am I sure about that? Am I sure, or do I want to just test this idea now in front of the camera? Let's just do one more. Let's see. Okay, so this is the third one, and obviously there's 5 in each one, but it all depends on how many batteries you're going to put in parallel, because, for example, if you're going to put, I'm putting 4 in parallel. The 5th connector is so that you've got basically an in and an out, you know, that you can connect in series to the next sub pack. So I'm going to have 4 sub packs. It's done just exactly what I said I wasn't going to do, which was get my head above the fumes. It's a lot easier when you're not being filmed, I've found. Why is this being a pain? Come on. I've got the iron right up to the maximum, which is like 450 degrees C. So I've got to be super careful. Well, I think you have to be super careful anyway, because realistically these sorts of temperatures are not good for the skin. Now what's happened here is there we go. So having this as a space is really useful. Is that hot at the end? It's warm. It's definitely warm. Right, so now I've got 3 there. They're evenly spaced, but are they flat? Well, if I lie them flat, like this, they're just not perfect. So, one solution is use a vise to squeeze them. There's obviously, they're being squeezed by the vise whilst they're being melted. And they'll all line up, or hopefully. But this amount of solder's going to be difficult to melt instantly. Also get the heat gets wicked away by the copper. It's kind of acting like a heat sink. So you kind of need to dig your soldering iron in there, but eventually it will. Like now, for example. I think when it's tinned a little bit, it makes this a lot easier. So, seeing what I've just seen there, I might abandon this jig temporarily, because I can get the spacings by using that Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. You didn't see any of that because, of course, it was all taking place over there. Right, okay. Right. Okay, sorry it's been such a long video. I'll put some skip bits through so you can sort of go to the next bit. That's sort of completed in the vise. The reason I didn't use the jig is because you kind of have to correct it in the vise anyway afterwards. But the jig is at least good for the first spacing because I don't know what that is without having that. So This just needs to be cut down now, and I need to do another 4 more, another 3 more of them, 4 more of the other ones. I need to check that they fit. Lots to do. See you in the next video.